Maya Chen stood outside the big house and looked up at the bright windows. She could hear music and laughter coming from inside. Her cousin Linda was getting engaged tonight, and the whole family was invited. Maya had not seen most of these people in many years. She did not want to come, but her father had called her 3 times. He said it would look bad if she did not show up. He said people would talk. People always talked about Maya. She knew this. She had heard the whispers for 12 years now. She was the girl who had everything and threw it all away. She was the girl who got into Juilliard, one of the best music schools in the world, and then left after just 1 year. She was the girl who could have been somebody but chose to be nobody instead. What people did not talk about was why she left. They did not talk about her mother's cancer. They did not talk about the phone call Maya got in the middle of her piano class, the one that made her drop everything and fly home. They did not talk about the 2 years Maya spent by her mother's bed, holding her hand, feeding her soup, playing soft music on an old keyboard because the sound of piano made her mother smile even when she could not speak anymore. No one talked about any of that. It was easier to shake their heads and say what a waste it all was. Maya looked down at her dress. It was not her dress. It belonged to her neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, a kind old woman who lived in the apartment next to hers. When Maya told her about the party, Mrs. Patterson had insisted she borrow something nice. The dress was dark blue with small flowers on it. It was pretty, but it did not fit quite right. It was a little too big in the shoulders and a little too tight around the waist. Maya had tried to fix it with safety pins, but she still felt like a child wearing her mother's clothes. She took a deep breath and walked to the front door. A man in a white jacket opened it for her. He did not smile. He looked at her dress and then looked away. Maya walked inside. The house was huge. Maya had forgotten how rich her aunt and uncle were. There were flowers everywhere. White roses, pink lilies. The smell was almost too strong. There were at least 100 people standing around, holding glasses of wine and talking in loud voices. A few of them turned to look at Maya when she walked in. She saw their eyes move up and down, looking at her dress, her shoes, her hair. Then they turned back to their conversations. Maya found a corner near the back of the room and stood there. A waiter walked by with a tray of drinks. She took a glass of water. She was not much of a drinker. Besides, she had to work early the next morning. She was a janitor at St. Mary's Hospital. She cleaned floors and bathrooms and waiting rooms. She emptied trash cans and wiped down chairs where worried families had sat all night. It was not a glamorous job, but it was honest work. It paid her rent. It let her live a quiet life. But she never told her relatives about her job. She knew what they would say. She knew how they would look at her. The girl who was supposed to be a concert pianist now pushed a mop for a living. How sad, how tragic, what a waste. Maya sipped her water and watched the party from her corner. She saw her cousin Linda in a beautiful white dress, laughing with her friends. She saw her Aunt Linda's mother walking around the room like a queen, making sure everyone was having a good time. She saw her uncles shaking hands with important-looking men in expensive suits. She saw relatives she had not seen since she was a teenager. Some of them had gotten older. Some had gotten fatter. Some had new wives or husbands standing next to them. No one came to talk to Maya. She was not surprised. She had become invisible to this family a long time ago, after she left Juilliard, after her mother died. After she stopped coming to family events, people had simply forgotten about her. Or maybe they had not forgotten. Maybe they just did not know what to say to her anymore. She was not successful. She was not married. She did not have children or a big house or a fancy car. She had nothing to show off, nothing to brag about. In a family where success was everything, Maya was nothing. She heard her name and looked up. 2 women were standing nearby, talking to each other. They had not seen her in the corner. One of them was her aunt's friend. The other was a woman Maya did not recognize. "That's her," the first woman said, pointing with her wine glass. "That's the one I was telling you about. The piano girl, the one who went to Juilliard." The other woman asked, "Yes, can you believe it? She got a full scholarship." "A full scholarship? Do you know how hard that is?" "And she just threw it away. Left after 1 year. Her mother was sick, I think. But still, you don't give up a chance like that. You just don't." "What does she do now?" The first woman shrugged. "Who knows? Something low, I'm sure. She never amounted to anything. Such a waste. She had so much talent. Her mother used to show everyone videos of her playing. The girl was a genius. And now look at her, standing in the corner like a ghost." Maya felt her face grow hot. She wanted to walk over and tell them the truth. She wanted to tell them about the nights she spent sleeping on a hospital chair because she did not want her mother to be alone. She wanted to tell them about the moment her mother took her last breath. How Maya had been holding her hand. How she had felt the exact second when her mother left this world. She wanted to tell them that she did not regret leaving Juilliard. Not for 1 second. Her mother had needed her. That was all that mattered. But she did not say anything. She just stood there, holding her glass of water, feeling smaller and smaller with every word they spoke. This was a mistake, she thought. She should not have come. She did not belong here. She belonged in her small apartment, with her old keyboard that she never played anymore, with her cat named Biscuit, with her quiet life that asked nothing of her and expected nothing from her. She decided to leave. She would find Linda, say congratulations, and then slip out the back door. No one would notice. No one would care. But as she started to move, she saw something in the corner of the big room. Something that made her stop. Something that made her heart beat a little faster. It was a piano. A grand piano. Black and shiny and beautiful. It sat there like a sleeping giant, waiting for someone to wake it up. Maya stared at it. She had not touched a piano in 12 years. Not since her mother died. She had told herself she was done with music. She had told herself that part of her life was over. But now, looking at that piano, she felt something stir inside her. Something old. Something she thought she had buried a long time ago. She looked away quickly. No, she was not going to think about it. She was going to say goodbye to Linda and go home. That was the plan. She started walking toward her cousin, but she could feel the piano behind her, like it was watching her, like it was waiting. Maya walked through the crowd, trying to find her cousin Linda. The room was full of people talking and laughing. Everyone seemed to know everyone else. They hugged and kissed cheeks and asked about children and jobs and vacations. Maya moved between them like a shadow. No one stopped her. No one said hello. She finally found Linda near the big windows. Her cousin looked beautiful. Her white dress was covered with tiny diamonds that caught the light. Her hair was pulled up in an elegant style. She was smiling and holding hands with her future husband, a tall man named Richard who worked at a bank. They looked like a picture from a magazine. Maya waited until Linda was not talking to anyone. Then she stepped forward. Linda, she said, congratulations. Linda turned around. For a moment, she looked confused. Then her face changed. Maya, oh my God, Maya, you came. She sounded surprised, maybe a little uncomfortable. My father said I should come, Maya said. I wanted to say congratulations. You look beautiful. Thank you, Linda said. She looked at Maya's dress but did not say anything about it. It's been so long. How are you? What are you doing now? This was the question Maya hated most. She never knew how to answer it. She could tell the truth and watch people's faces fall, or she could lie and pretend to be something she was not. I'm fine, Maya said. Just working, living my life. That's nice, Linda said, but she was already looking over Maya's shoulder at someone else. Listen, I have to go talk to Richard's parents. They just got here. But it's so good to see you, really. We should catch up sometime. They both knew they would not catch up. They both knew this was just something people said. Of course, Maya said. Have a wonderful night. She turned to leave. She was almost at the door when she heard a loud voice behind her. Excuse me, everyone. Can I have your attention, please? Maya turned around. Her aunt was standing in the middle of the room, holding a microphone. Everyone stopped talking and looked at her. Thank you all for coming tonight to celebrate Linda and Richard, her aunt said. We have a wonderful evening planned. There will be food and dancing and many surprises. But first, I want to apologize for one small problem. People looked at each other, confused. We hired a pianist to play for us tonight, her aunt continued. A professional. He was supposed to be here an hour ago, but he just called and said his car broke down. He cannot make it. She made a sad face. I know it's very disappointing. I spent a lot of money on that piano. It's a Steinway. The best you can buy. I was so excited to have live music tonight, but I guess we will have to use the speakers instead. A man standing near Maya laughed. Angela, why don't you play it yourself? Maya's aunt waved a hand. Oh please, I cannot play piano. I bought it because it looks beautiful in the room. It matches the furniture. People laughed. Maya did not laugh. She looked at the piano again. A Steinway? That was a serious instrument. Her old teacher at Juilliard used to say that a Steinway was not just a piano. It was a voice. It could sing if you knew how to make it sing. Wait a minute, someone said. Doesn't someone in the family play piano? Maya felt her body go cold. Who? Her aunt asked. That girl, what's her name? The one who went to that fancy music school. Heads started turning. Eyes started searching the room. Maya wanted to disappear. She wanted to melt into the floor and vanish. Maya, her aunt said. Maya Chen, is she here? I think I saw her earlier. Someone said, near the back. There she is. A hand pointed at Maya. Suddenly everyone was looking at her. 100 faces. 100 pairs of eyes. Maya, her aunt called out, waving her over. Come here, darling. Come here. Maya could not move. Her feet felt like they were made of stone, but people were pushing her forward, making a path for her, guiding her toward the center of the room where her aunt was standing. I didn't know you were here, her aunt said. She looked at Maya's dress and raised her eyebrows just a little. How wonderful. You can play for us tonight. I don't think that's a good idea, Maya said. Her voice sounded small and weak. Nonsense, her aunt said. You went to Juilliard. You must be very good. That was a long time ago. I haven't played in years. It's like riding a bicycle. You never forget. Her aunt took her arm and started leading her toward the piano, which is play something simple, background music, nothing fancy. We don't want to bore everyone. Maya heard those words and felt something twist in her stomach. Something simple, nothing fancy. Don't bore everyone, her aunt. Thought she could only play simple music. Her aunt thought she would bore people if she tried to play anything real. Her aunt had no idea what Maya could do. what she used to do, what she had given up. Really, Maya said. I can't, I'm not prepared. You'll be fine, her aunt said. It's just a party. No one is expecting a concert. They reached the piano. It was even more beautiful up close. The black wood was so shiny that Maya could see her own reflection in it. The keys were white and perfect. No one had ever played this piano. She could tell. It was brand new, untouched. Sit, her aunt said, pushing her gently toward the bench. Maya sat down. The bench was smooth and cold. She looked at the keys. There were 88 of them. She used to know each one by heart. She used to be able to close her eyes and find any note without looking. Could she still do that? She did not know. Play something nice, her aunt said. Then she walked away, back to her guests. Maya sat alone at the piano. She could feel people watching her. Most of them had gone back to their conversations, but some were still looking. A group of teenagers near the window were laughing about something. She heard one of them say, "Is she actually going to play? This should be funny." It was her nephew, Thomas, Linda's younger brother. He was 17 now. The last time Maya had seen him, he was a little boy who liked to chase butterflies in the garden. Now he was tall and mean-looking with his phone in his hand, probably ready to record her. Maya looked down at the keys. Her hands were shaking. She could feel the sweat on her palms. What was she doing here? Why had she agreed to this? She should have said no. She should have walked out. She should have never come to this party in the first place. But it was too late now. She was sitting at the piano. People were waiting. She had to do something. She thought about what her aunt had said. Something simple. Nothing fancy. Fine. She would play something simple. She would get through this, and then she would leave. And she would never come to another family party again. She took a deep breath. She placed her fingers on the keys. They felt cool and smooth, like old friends she had not seen in a long time. And then she remembered her mother. Her mother used to sit next to her when she practiced. Her mother used to close her eyes and smile when Maya played something beautiful. Her mother used to say, "Music is not about showing off, Maya. Music is about telling the truth. When you play, tell the truth." Maya had not told the truth in 12 years. She had buried it. She had locked it away. She had pretended it did not exist, but now, sitting at this beautiful piano, surrounded by people who thought she was nothing, she felt something rising inside her, something that had been sleeping for a very long time. She closed her eyes. She took another breath, and she began to play. The first notes were soft, gentle, the opening of Debussy's Clair de Lune. It was a piece she had learned when she was 12 years old, a piece about moonlight and shadows and quiet beauty. She played it slowly, carefully. Her fingers remembered the notes even though her mind had forgotten. It was strange. It was like her hands belonged to someone else, someone who still knew how to make music. The room was noisy. People were still talking. Glasses were clinking. No one was really listening to her. She was just background noise, just like her aunt wanted. But Maya kept playing. She finished the first section of the piece, then the second. Her fingers grew warmer. Her hands stopped shaking. The music started to flow more easily, like water finding its path down a mountain. And something inside her began to wake up. Something she thought had died with her mother. Something fierce and hungry and alive. She finished Clair de Lune. She paused. The room was still noisy, still distracted. And then Maya made a decision that would change everything. She was done playing simple. She was done being background noise. She was done being invisible. It was time to tell the truth. Maya sat at the piano with her eyes closed. The last note of Clair de Lune was still hanging in the air, but no one seemed to notice. The party continued around her. People laughed and talked and drank their wine. She was invisible again, just like always. She opened her eyes and looked at her hands. They were resting on the keys, waiting. They looked different now. They looked alive. For the first time in 12 years, they felt like they belonged on a piano. Something was happening inside her. She could feel it building, like a storm gathering strength over the ocean. All those years of silence. All those years of pretending she did not miss music. All those years of telling herself that she was fine, that she did not need to play, that it did not hurt to walk past piano stores without looking in the windows. It had all been a lie. She knew that now. She had been lying to herself for 12 years. She looked around the room. She saw her aunt talking to some important-looking people, probably showing off about the expensive decorations. She saw her cousin Linda taking pictures with her phone, smiling that perfect smile. She saw her nephew Thomas still standing with his friends, still holding his phone, probably still waiting for her to do something embarrassing. She saw all these people who had written her off, all these people who thought she was a failure, all these people who whispered about what a waste she was, how she had thrown away her talent, how she would never amount to anything. They did not know anything about her. They did not know about the nights she spent crying in the hospital bathroom because she was so tired and so scared and so alone. They did not know about the moment she held her mother's hand and felt the life leave her body. They did not know about the years she spent trying to put herself back together. One tiny piece at a time. They thought she was weak. They thought she had given up. They thought she was nothing. Maya felt something hot rise up in her chest. It was anger, real anger, the kind she had been pushing down for so long that she had forgotten it was there. Her aunt had asked her to play something simple, something that would not bore people, something in the background, as if Maya was not worth listening to, as if her music did not matter, as if she was just decoration, like the flowers and the fancy napkins. Maya was so tired of being treated like nothing. She was so tired of being invisible. She was so tired of watching other people live their big, loud lives while she cleaned up after them. She mopped their floors. She emptied their trash. She smiled and nodded and said yes, thank you, of course, no problem. But inside she was screaming. She had been screaming for 12 years. She thought about her mother, her beautiful, kind, brave mother who had fought cancer for 2 years and never complained. Her mother who had told her to go back to school, to not give up her dream, to live her life. But Maya could not leave her. She could not let her mother die alone in the hospital room. So she stayed. She stayed until the very end. And after her mother was gone, Maya could not play anymore. The music had died with her. Every time she sat at a piano, she heard her mother's voice. She felt her mother's hand on her shoulder. She saw her mother's face, smiling, proud, full of love. And it hurt too much. It hurt so much that she could not breathe, so she stopped. She packed away her sheet music. She sold her piano. She took a job that had nothing to do with music. She built a life that was small and quiet and safe. But the music had never really left her. It was always there, waiting in the dark, like a wild animal in a cage. And now, sitting at this beautiful Steinway, surrounded by people who thought she was worthless, Maya felt the cage door opening. She remembered the last thing her mother had said to her. It was 3 days before she died. She was very weak, but her eyes were still bright. She had held Maya's hand and said, "You stopped playing for me. I know you did, and I love you for it. But promise me something. Promise me that one day you will play for yourself. Not for me, not for anyone else. For yourself." Maya had promised, but she had not kept that promise. Until now she looked down at the keys. Her fingers were trembling, but not from fear anymore. They were trembling from something else, something powerful, something that had been locked away for too long. She knew what she was going to play. She had known it from the moment she sat down, even if she had not admitted it to herself. It was the piece she had been working on at Juilliard when she got the phone call about her mother. It was the piece she had never finished learning. It was the piece that had haunted her dreams for 12 years, Chopin's Ballade No. 1 in G minor. It was one of the most difficult pieces ever written for piano. Concert pianists practiced it for years before performing it. Some never performed it at all because it was too hard, too demanding, too risky. One mistake and the whole thing could fall apart. Maya had not played it in 12 years. She had not practiced. She did not have the sheet music. She would have to play from memory, and her memory was full of holes. It was crazy. It was impossible. It was exactly what she needed to do. She could hear her aunt's voice in her head. Something simple, nothing fancy. Don't bore everyone. Maya smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had finally decided to stop hiding. She positioned her hands over the keys. The opening of the ballade was quiet. A simple melody in the left hand, almost like a question. Then the right hand joined in, adding another voice, another layer. But Maya did not start with the opening. Instead, she sat very still, breathing deeply, feeling the piano beneath her fingers. She could sense its power. This was a Steinway, a real Steinway. It was worth more than everything she owned. It was capable of sounds that most people had never heard, and her aunt used it as decoration. Maya thought about all the people in this room. Rich people, successful people, people with big houses and fancy cars and important jobs. They had so much, they had everything, and they wasted it all on things that did not matter. They bought pianos they could not play. They threw parties they did not enjoy. They lived lives that looked perfect from the outside but were empty on the inside. Maya had nothing. No money, no status, no big house or fancy car. But she had something they did not have. She had the ability to make music. Real music. Music that could make people cry. Music that could make people feel alive. She had given that up. She had thrown it away. But it was still inside her, waiting to be set free. She took one last breath. She thought of her mother. She thought of all the people who had underestimated her. She thought of all the years she had wasted being afraid. And then she thought of herself. Maya Chen, 34 years old, hospital janitor, invisible woman, failed musician. No, not failed, never failed. That she was not a failed musician. She was a musician who had stopped playing. There was a difference, a big difference, and tonight she was going to start playing again. She could feel her heart pounding in her chest. Her hands were sweating. Her whole body was tense with anticipation. This was it. This was the moment. After 12 years of silence, Maya was going to speak again, not with words, with music. She lowered her hands to the keys. She felt the smooth ivory under her fingertips. She felt the weight of the piano, all that wood and metal and history. And she felt something else too. She felt her mother sitting next to her, just like she used to when Maya was a little girl learning her first scales. She felt her mother's hand on her shoulder. She heard her mother's voice, soft and warm. "Tell the truth, Maya. Tell the truth." Maya closed her eyes and she began to play. The first notes came out softly, almost like a whisper. Maya played the opening of Chopin's Ballade with her eyes closed, letting her fingers find their way across the keys. The melody was sad and beautiful, like a story being told by someone who had lost everything at first. Nothing changed in the room. People kept talking. Glasses kept clinking. The party continued as if nothing special was happening. Maya was still just background noise. Still invisible, but she did not care about them. Not anymore. She was not playing for them. She was playing for herself. She was playing for her mother. She was playing for the little girl she used to be. The one who had spent hours and hours at the piano, dreaming of concert halls and standing ovations. The melody grew a little stronger. Maya leaned into the piano, feeling its vibrations move through her body. This Steinway was incredible. The sound was rich and full and warm. It responded to every tiny movement of her fingers. It was like having a conversation with an old friend. Her fingers remembered things her mind had forgotten. The first theme. The second theme. The way the music flowed from one section to the next. She made mistakes here and there. Small ones. Notes that were not quite right. Rhythms that stumbled. But she kept playing. She did not stop. She did not apologize. She thought about the last time she had played this piece. It was in a practice room at Juilliard. Small room. Bright lights. A piano that was not as good as this one. She had been working on the difficult middle section. The one with all the fast runs and complicated rhythms. Her teacher had said she was making good progress. He had said that by the end of the semester, she might be ready to perform it. But the semester never ended. Not for Maya. 3 weeks later, she was on a plane home. 3 weeks later, she was sitting in a hospital room, holding her mother's hand, listening to the beep of machines. She pushed those memories away. Not now. She could not think about that now. She had to focus on the music. The piece moved into a new section. The melody changed. It became more hopeful, more bright. Maya's fingers danced across the keys, finding notes she had not played in over a decade. Some of them came easy, others were harder to find. But she kept going. She kept searching. She kept playing. Somewhere in the room a conversation stopped. Maya did not notice at first. She was too deep inside the music. But slowly, other conversations stopped too, one by one, like candles being blown out. The music was getting louder now, more intense. Maya could feel it building inside her, like a wave rising from the bottom of the ocean. All those years of silence. All those years of holding back. All those years of pretending she was okay when she was falling apart inside. She played faster. Her fingers flew across the keys. The notes came pouring out of her, one after another, like words she had been waiting to say for 12 years. She thought about the night her mother died. It was late, after midnight. The hospital was quiet. Maya had been sitting by the bed for hours, watching her mother breathe, in and out, each breath slower than the one before. Her mother had opened her eyes one last time. She had looked at Maya and smiled, a small smile, tired but peaceful, and then she had closed her eyes again, and the breathing had stopped. Maya had not cried, not then. She had sat very still, holding her mother's hand, feeling the warmth leave her body. She had stayed like that for a long time. Hours, maybe. She did not know. Time had stopped making sense. When the nurses finally came, they had to gently pull her away. She remembered walking out of the hospital in the gray morning light, feeling like the whole world had ended, feeling like she would never be whole again. And in a way, she never was. A part of her had died in that hospital room, the part that believed in dreams and possibilities and happy endings, the part that thought music could save her. But now, sitting at this piano, playing this piece, Maya felt something strange happening. She felt that dead part of her coming back to life, not all at once. Slowly, painfully, like blood returning to a limb that had been asleep for too long. The music kept building. The piece was entering the more difficult sections now. Maya's hands were flying across the keys, playing passages she had not practiced in 12 years. Her muscle memory was doing most of the work. Her conscious mind was somewhere else, lost in memories and emotions she had buried long ago. She thought about all the things she had given up, the concerts she would never play, the students she would never teach, the life she would never live. She had told herself it was worth it. She had told herself that being with her mother in those final months was more important than any career, and it was true. She did not regret staying with her mother. She would make the same choice 1,000 times, but she did regret what came after. She regretted giving up music completely. She regretted punishing herself for something that was not her fault. She regretted hiding from the world, pretending she was no one, pretending she had no talent, no dreams, no voice. The music reached a quiet moment, a pause, a breath. Maya's fingers slowed down. She played a soft, tender melody. It sounded like a prayer, like a goodbye dot. She thought about her mother's last words. One day, play for yourself, Maya had promised. And for 12 years, she had broken that promise. She had been too scared, too sad, too lost. But not anymore. Tonight, she was keeping her promise. Tonight, she was playing for herself. The quiet melody ended, and then the music exploded. Maya hit the keys with a force that surprised even her. The sound that came out of the piano was enormous. It filled the entire room. It bounced off the walls and the ceiling and the windows. It was so loud that people stepped backward, startled. This was the climax of the piece. The moment when all the themes came together. The moment when the music stopped holding back and let itself be heard. Maya played with her whole body. She leaned forward. She swayed with the rhythm. Her arms moved up and down, striking the keys with power and precision. Her feet worked the pedals, controlling the sound, making it swell and fade. She was not thinking anymore. She was not remembering. She was just playing. She was the music was her. There was no separation between them. Tears started rolling down her face. She did not know when they had started. She did not try to stop them. They were part of the music too, part of the truth she was finally telling. She played the grief of losing her mother. She played the loneliness of the past 12 years. She played the anger at being underestimated, overlooked, forgotten. She played the shame of hiding from her own talent. She played the fear of being seen, really seen, for who she truly was. And she played something else too, something she had not expected to find. Hope. Buried underneath all the pain there was hope, a tiny spark that had never completely gone out, the hope that maybe it was not too late. Maybe she could still become the person she was meant to be. Maybe the music had not died after all. Maybe it was just waiting for her to be ready. The piece moved toward its final section. The themes returned one last time, transformed, deepened by everything that had come before. Maya played them with a gentleness she had not felt in years, a softness, a tenderness. She thought about her mother again. But this time, the memory did not hurt. This time she remembered the good things. The way her mother laughed. The way she smelled like flowers and fresh bread. The way she used to hug Maya before every recital and whisper, "Make them cry, sweetheart, make them feel something." Maya was crying now, really crying. The tears were streaming down her face, falling onto her hands, onto the keys. But she did not stop playing. She could not stop. The music would not let her. The final notes were approaching. Maya could feel them coming. The piece was ending. This moment was ending. Soon she would have to open her eyes and face the world again, but not yet. For just a few more seconds, she wanted to stay here, in this place where nothing existed except the music, where her mother was still alive, where she was still the girl who believed anything was possible. She played the last phrase, slowly, carefully, each note a separate goodbye, and then she played the final chord. It rang out through the room, filling every corner with sound. Maya held it there, her fingers pressing down on the keys, feeling the vibrations move through her body. Then slowly, gradually, she lifted her hands, and there was silence. The silence lasted 7 seconds. Maya counted them in her head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds of complete and total silence. No talking, no clinking glasses, no laughter, nothing. Maya kept her eyes closed. She was afraid to open them. She was afraid of what she might see. Had she made a fool of herself? Had she embarrassed her family? That had everyone left the room because her playing was so terrible? Her hands were still resting on the piano keys. They were shaking. Her whole body was shaking. She felt empty, like someone had reached inside her and pulled everything out. All those emotions, all those memories, all those years of pain. She had poured it all into the music, and now there was nothing left. She heard a sound, a small sound, someone clearing their throat, then another sound, someone was crying. Maya opened her eyes. The first thing she saw was her aunt, Angela Chen, the woman who had asked her to play something simple. She was standing in the middle of the room with her hand over her mouth. Her eyes were red, tears were running down her cheeks. She looked like she had just seen a ghost. Maya looked around the room. Everyone was standing still. No one was moving. No one was talking. They were all staring at her. Over 100 people, frozen in place, looking at the woman at the piano. Some of them were crying, men and women, old and young, people Maya had never met before. They had tears on their faces. Some were wiping their eyes with napkins. Others were not even trying to hide it. Maya did not understand what had happened. Had she really played that piece? The whole thing. She could barely remember it now. It felt like a dream, like something that had happened to someone else. She looked at her hands. They were still on the keys. They looked different somehow. Stronger, more alive, like they had woken up from a long sleep. A glass fell somewhere in the room. The sound was sharp and sudden in the silence. It was Linda's glass. She had dropped it. Her white dress now had a red stain spreading across the front, but she did not seem to notice. She was staring at Maya with her mouth open. "Oh my God," someone whispered. Maya did not see who said it, but those words seemed to break the spell. Suddenly everyone was talking at once. "Did you hear that? I can't believe it. That was, I've never heard anything like it. Who is she?" Maya's nephew Thomas was standing near the window where she had seen him before, but he was not laughing anymore. He was not holding up his phone to record her. He was just standing there, looking at her with an expression she had never seen on his face before. It might have been respect. It might have been shock. Maya could not tell. Her aunt started walking toward her slowly, like she was approaching a wild animal. When she reached the piano, she stopped. For a long moment, she did not say anything. She just looked at Maya with those red, wet eyes. Maya, she finally said. Her voice was different now. Softer. The sharpness was gone. Maya, I didn't know. I had no idea. Maya did not know what to say. She was still trying to understand what had happened. Part of her felt like she was floating above her own body, watching the scene from far away. When you were a child, I heard you play at family gatherings, her aunt continued. You were good, very good, but this was something else. She could not finish the sentence. She put her hand on Maya's shoulder. Her touch was gentle, almost apologetic. I'm so sorry, her aunt said. I'm so sorry I didn't. She stopped again. Maya understood what she was trying to say. She was sorry for all the years of whispers and judgment. She was sorry for treating Maya like she was invisible. She was sorry for not knowing what Maya had been through, what she had given up, what she had lost. Maya wanted to say something. She wanted to tell her aunt that it was okay, that she understood, that she did not blame her. But the words would not come. Her throat was too tight. Her eyes were filling with tears again. More people started coming toward the piano. They came slowly, respectfully, like they were approaching something sacred. They formed a circle around Maya, looking at her with new eyes, eyes full of wonder and surprise and something that looked like admiration. An old man pushed through the crowd. Maya recognized him. It was her Uncle David, her father's brother. He was almost 80 years old now. He had been a musician himself once, a violinist in a local orchestra before he retired. He had always been kind to Maya when she was young. He used to tell her that she had the gift. He stopped in front of the piano and looked at Maya for a long time. His old eyes were bright with tears. That was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard, he said. His voice was rough with emotion. In my entire life, Maya, the most beautiful thing. Maya felt something break inside her, something she had been holding together for 12 years. She put her face in her hands and started to cry. Really cry. Not the gentle tears that had come during the music, but deep, shaking sobs that came from somewhere at the bottom of her soul. She felt arms around her, not just one pair, many pairs. People were hugging her, people who had ignored her an hour ago, people who had whispered about what a waste she was. They were holding her now, letting her cry, telling her it was okay. Let it out, someone said. Let it all out. And she did. She cried for her mother. She cried for her lost years. She cried for the little girl who had dreamed of being a great pianist. She cried for the woman who had given up those dreams. She cried for all the pain she had carried alone for so long. When she finally looked up, she saw that the whole room had changed. The party was over. Nobody was thinking about champagne or engagement rings anymore. They were all focused on her, on what had just happened, on the music that had come out of this quiet, invisible woman in a borrowed dress. I don't understand, Linda said. She had come closer now, not caring about the wine stain on her dress. Why did you stop playing? If you could play like that, why would you ever stop? It was the question Maya had been avoiding for 12 years, the question she had never wanted to answer. But now, sitting at this piano, surrounded by people who had finally seen her, she felt like she could tell the truth. I stopped because it hurt too much, she said. Her voice was hoarse from crying. My mother loved to hear me play. When she got sick, I played for her every day. I thought the music might help her get better. I thought if I played well enough, I could keep her alive. She paused. The room was completely silent again. But she died anyway. She died, and I couldn't save her, and after that, I couldn't play anymore. Every time I touched a piano, I thought of her. I saw her face. I heard her voice. And it hurt so much. It felt like dying all over again. She looked down at her hands. They were resting on the keys again, as if they belonged there, as if they had never belonged anywhere else. So I stopped. I packed away the music. I sold my piano. I took a job where I didn't have to think about anything beautiful or emotional. I made myself invisible. I made myself small. I thought if I could just become nothing, I would stop hurting. She looked up at the crowd of faces watching her. But the hurt didn't go away. It just went underground. It was always there, waiting. And tonight, when I touched this piano, it all came back. Everything all at once. She took a deep breath. My mother's last words to me were to play for myself one day. I promised her I would, but I never did, until tonight. The room was silent. Nobody moved, nobody spoke. They were all looking at her with new eyes. Not pity, not judgment, something else. Something like understanding done. Someone started to clap. It was slow at first. Just one person. Then another person joined in. Then another, and suddenly the whole room was clapping. 100 people, applauding Maya Chen, the invisible woman, the failed musician, the girl who had been nothing. But she was not nothing anymore. She had never been nothing. She had just been waiting, waiting for the right moment, waiting to keep her promise, waiting to play for herself. The applause went on and on. Maya sat at the piano and let it wash over her. She did not know what would happen next. She did not know if this changed anything. She did not know if tomorrow she would still be a janitor in a borrowed dress, but she knew one thing. She had told the truth finally after 12 years, and the truth had set her free. The applause finally stopped, but the room did not go back to normal. How could it? Something had happened here tonight. Something that nobody would forget. The engagement party had become something else entirely. It had become the night that Maya Chen came back from the dead. Maya sat at the piano feeling strange and light, like she might float away at any moment. Her whole body was tired. Playing that piece had taken everything out of her. Her arms ached. Her fingers were sore. Her back hurt from sitting on the bench for so long. But underneath the tiredness, there was something else. A feeling she had not felt in 12 years. She felt alive. People started moving again. The frozen spell was broken. But instead of going back to their conversations and their wine, they stayed close to the piano. They wanted to be near her. They wanted to talk to her. They wanted to touch her, as if some of what she had might rub off on them. A woman Maya did not recognize came forward. She was older, maybe 60 or 65, with silver hair and expensive jewelry. Her eyes were still red from crying. "I lost my husband 3 years ago," the woman said. "Cancer, just like your mother. When you played, I felt like you were telling my story too, like you understood exactly what I went through." She took Maya's hand and squeezed it. Thank you for that." Before Maya could respond, another person stepped forward, a young man in his 20s. He looked nervous. "I'm a music student," he said. "I've been studying piano for 15 years. I've never heard anyone play like that. Not in person, not even in recordings. How did you do that? How did you put so much emotion into the music?" Maya did not know how to answer. She had not been thinking about technique or emotion or anything like that. She had just been playing. She had just been telling the truth. "I don't know," she said honestly. "I just played what I felt." The young man shook his head in amazement. "That's the thing everyone says, but nobody can actually do it. You did it. You really did it." More people came, one after another. They told her their stories. They told her what the music had made them feel. A man said it reminded him of his father who had passed away. A woman said it made her think about all the dreams she had given up when she got married. A teenager said she had never understood classical music before, but now she wanted to learn more. Maya listened to all of them. She nodded and smiled and said thank you over and over again. But inside she was overwhelmed. She had expected nothing from tonight. She had expected to be invisible, to slip in and out without anyone noticing. Instead, she had become the center of attention. She had touched people she did not even know. Her cousin Linda appeared beside her. The wine stain on her white dress had dried into an ugly red mark, but Linda did not seem to care anymore. "Maya," she said, "I owe you an apology." Maya looked at her. Linda's face was serious, sincere. This was not the polished, perfect Linda who had been showing off her engagement ring earlier. This was someone else, someone more real. "When we were kids, I was always jealous of you," Linda said. "You had this amazing talent. Everyone talked about you. Maya is so gifted. Maya is going to be famous one day. I was the pretty one, but you were the special one. I hated that." Maya did not know what to say. She had never known Linda felt this way. "When you left Juilliard, I was almost happy," Linda continued. "I know that's terrible, but I thought, finally, she's not special anymore. Finally, she's just like the rest of us." She wiped her eyes. "I'm so ashamed of that now. I didn't know what you were going through. I didn't know about your mom. I should have called you. I should have been there for you. Instead, I just judged you like everyone else." Linda. Maya started. "No, let me finish. What you did tonight, what you played, it was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. And I realized something. You didn't lose your talent. You didn't throw anything away. You just put it aside for a while because you had to. Because you were being a good daughter. And now you're back. And I'm so glad. I'm so glad you're back." Linda hugged her. A real hug. Not the polite, quick hugs they had exchanged at family gatherings over the years. This was tight and warm and full of feeling. When they pulled apart, Maya saw that her aunt was standing nearby, watching them. Angela Chen looked different now. Smaller somehow. Less powerful. The queen of the party had become just another guest. "Maya," her aunt said, "I need to tell you something." Maya waited. "That piano," her aunt pointed at the Steinway. "I bought it 5 years ago. It costs more than most people's cars. I bought it because I thought it would make me look cultured, sophisticated. I never learned to play. I never even tried. It just sat there, collecting dust, while I showed it off to my friends." She shook her head slowly. "Tonight I heard what that piano can do, what it was made to do. In your hands, it became something magical, something alive. And I realized what a fool I've been. I've been buying beautiful things my whole life, trying to fill some hole inside me, but I never understood what beauty really is. Not until tonight." She took a deep breath. "I want you to have the piano." Maya stared at her. "What?" "I want you to have it. Take it home. It belongs with someone who can actually play it. Someone who can make it sing the way you did tonight." "Aunt Angela, I can't. That piano is worth I don't care what it's worth. Money is just money. What you did tonight is worth more than anything I could buy." Her aunt's eyes filled with tears again. "Please, take it. It would make me happy. It would make me feel like I finally did something right." Maya did not know what to say. A Steinway grand piano, in her tiny apartment. The idea was absurd. There was barely room for her small keyboard, the one she never played. But the way her aunt was looking at her, the hope in her eyes, Maya could not say no. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you, Aunt Angela." Her aunt smiled. It was a real smile, the first real smile Maya had ever seen on her face. The party slowly started to come back to life, but it was different now. The stiff, formal atmosphere was gone. People were talking to each other in small groups, their voices soft and thoughtful. Some of them were still wiping their eyes. Others were laughing quietly, the way people laugh when they have shared something profound. Maya stayed at the piano. She did not want to leave it yet. She ran her fingers lightly over the keys, not playing, just touching, feeling the smooth ivory under her fingertips, remembering what it felt like to make music again. She thought about what would happen tomorrow. She would wake up in her small apartment. She would feed her cat, Biscuit. She would put on her uniform and go to work at the hospital. She would mop floors and empty trash cans and smile at patients in the hallways. Nothing would change. And yet everything had changed. She had played again. After 12 years of silence, she had played, and not just played. She had played better than she ever had before. All that pain, all that grief, all those years of bottled up emotions, they had made her music stronger, deeper, more powerful. Maybe that was the secret. Maybe you had to suffer to create something truly beautiful. Maybe you had to break before you could become whole again. Maya did not know if that was true. She did not know much of anything right now. She was too tired to think, too overwhelmed to plan. But she knew one thing for certain. She was not invisible anymore. She had been seen, really seen, for the first time in 12 years. And she was never going back to hiding again. The party was winding down. Guests were starting to leave, but they did not leave the way they had arrived. When they came in, they were chattering and laughing, thinking about champagne and gossip. When they left, they were quiet, thoughtful. Some of them stopped by the piano to say one last word to Maya before they went. "I'll never forget tonight," said a man in a gray suit. "You have a gift from God," said an old woman with a cane. "Please don't stop playing again," said a teenage girl with tears in her eyes. Maya thanked each of them. She was exhausted. Her body felt heavy. Her eyes were dry and burning from all the crying. She wanted to go home, crawl into bed and sleep for 100 years, but she also did not want this night to end. Something magical had happened here, something she had never expected. She was afraid that if she left, the magic would disappear. She would wake up tomorrow and realize it had all been a dream. The room was almost empty now. Only family members remained. Linda and Richard were talking quietly in the corner. Linda was still in her wine-stained dress. She had refused to change, saying the stain would remind her of this night. Her Aunt Angela was directing servants to clean up. Her Uncle David was sitting in a chair near the window, looking tired but happy. Maya was about to stand up from the piano bench when she heard footsteps behind her. They were slow and deliberate, high heels clicking on the marble floor. She turned around. A woman was walking toward her. Maya had not noticed her before. She was in her late 50s, with short gray hair and sharp, intelligent eyes. She wore a simple black dress, no jewelry except for a thin gold chain around her neck. She did not look like the other guests. She did not have that shiny, wealthy appearance. She looked more serious, more real. The woman stopped a few feet from the piano. She studied Maya for a long moment without speaking. Her eyes moved over Maya's face, her hands, her posture. It felt like being examined by a doctor or a judge. "That was Chopin's Ballade." "No one," the woman finally said. Her voice was calm and precise. "The entire piece, from memory." After not playing for 12 years, Maya nodded. "Yes. Do you know how difficult that piece is?" "I know. Do you know that professional concert pianists practice it for months before performing it? That some of them refuse to play it at all because the risk of making a mistake is too high?" Maya nodded again. She did not know what this woman wanted. She felt like she was being tested somehow. "You made mistakes tonight," the woman continued, "in the development section, in the kota, small ones, but I heard them." Maya felt her face grow warm. "I know. I'm sorry I haven't practiced and don't apologize." The woman held up her hand. "The mistakes don't matter. What matters is what you did despite them. You played through the errors. You didn't stop. You didn't let them break your concentration. And more importantly, you played with something that can't be taught." She paused, looking at Maya with those sharp eyes. "You played with soul." Maya did not know what to say. She felt the woman's words sink into her, filling some empty space she had not known was there. "Who are you?" Maya asked. The woman smiled. It was a small smile, but it changed her whole face. She suddenly looked warmer, more human. "My name is Patricia Holloway. I'm the artistic director of the City Philharmonic Orchestra." Maya felt her heart stop. The City Philharmonic, one of the best orchestras in the country. She had dreamed of playing with them when she was a student at Juilliard. She had pictures of their concert hall on her wall back then. "I came to this party as a favor to a friend," Dr. Holloway continued. "I didn't want to come. I find these social events tedious. Too much small talk, too much pretending to be interested in people's boring lives. I was planning to leave after an hour." She took a step closer to the piano. "Then I heard you play, and everything changed." Maya's hands were trembling. She pressed them against her thighs to keep them still. "I've been in this business for 40 years, Dr. Holloway said. I've heard thousands of pianists, young ones, old ones, famous ones, unknown ones. I've heard technically perfect performances that left me cold. I've heard messy performances that made me cry. What you did tonight was neither of those things. It was something else entirely. She looked at Maya with an intensity that was almost uncomfortable. Where have you been hiding? She asked. And more importantly, why? It was the same question Linda had asked, the same question everyone was asking. Maya thought about how to answer. She thought about giving the short version, the polite version, the version that did not reveal too much. But she was tired of hiding, tired of pretending. She had spent 12 years not telling the truth. Tonight she had started telling it through her music. Maybe it was time to tell it with words too. I was at Juilliard, Maya said. First year, scholarship student. I was studying with Professor Reynolds. Do you know him? Dr. Holloway nodded. James Reynolds, one of the best piano teachers in the country. He retired a few years ago. He was my teacher. He said I had potential. He said, if I worked hard, I could have a career as a concert pianist. Maya paused, feeling the old pain rise up in her chest. Then my mother got sick. Cancer, stage 4. The doctors said she had 6 months to live. Dr. Holloway's face softened. She did not say anything. She just listened. I left school to take care of her. I moved back home. I spent every day with her for 2 years. The doctors were wrong about 6 months. She was strong, she fought hard, but in the end, the cancer won. Maya took a deep breath. This was the hardest part to talk about. After she died, I couldn't play anymore. Every time I touched a piano, I thought of her. I heard her voice, I saw her face. It was too painful, so I stopped. I sold my piano. I packed away my music books. I took a job that had nothing to do with music. I became a different person, a smaller person, a person who didn't dream anymore. She looked up at Dr. Holloway. That's where I'd been hiding. Inside myself for 12 years. Dr. Holloway was quiet for a long moment. Her sharp eyes had softened. She looked almost sad. I understand, she said finally. More than you know. I lost my son when he was 23, car accident. He was a cellist, very talented. After he died, I couldn't listen to music for 2 years. Every note reminded me of him. Every melody felt like a knife in my heart. Maya felt tears prick her eyes again. She thought she had cried them all out, but there were more. How did you come back? Maya asked. How did you start listening again? Dr. Holloway smiled, that small smile again. I realized that music wasn't the enemy. Music was how I could keep him alive. Every time I heard a cello, I heard his voice. Every time I conducted a piece he loved, I felt him with me. The pain didn't go away, but it changed. It became something I could live with. Something that connected me to him instead of separating me from him. She reached into her purse and pulled out a small white card. She held it out to Maya. I want you to call me, she said. When you're ready. I don't know what you want to do with your life. I don't know if you want to perform again or teach or just play for yourself. But whatever you decide, I want to help. Talent like yours is rare. It would be a tragedy to let it disappear again. Maya took the card. It was simple. Just a name, a title, and a phone number. Dr. Patricia Holloway, Artistic Director, City Philharmonic Orchestra. Why? Maya asked. Why do you want to help me? You don't even know me. Dr. Holloway looked at her for a long moment. Then she did something unexpected. She reached out and touched Maya's cheek gently, like a mother would. Because everyone deserves a second chance, she said. And because when you played tonight, you reminded me why I fell in love with music in the first place. That's worth more than anything. She turned and walked away. Her heels clicked on the marble floor, getting softer and softer until they disappeared. Maya sat at the piano, holding the business card in her trembling hands. She looked at it for a long time. Then she looked at the piano keys. Something was changing inside her. Something that had been frozen for 12 years was starting to thaw. She did not know what would happen next. She did not know if she would call Dr. Holloway or not. She did not know if she was ready to come back to the world of music, but for the first time in a very long time, she felt something she had forgotten existed. She felt hope. Maya did not sleep that night. She went home to her small apartment after the party, fed her cat biscuit, changed out of Mrs. Patterson's borrowed dress, and lay down in her bed. But sleep would not come. Her mind was racing too fast. Images from the night kept playing over and over in her head. The piano, the faces in the crowd, her aunt crying, Dr. Holloway's business card. She held the card in her hand as she lay there in the dark. She had looked at it so many times that she had memorized the phone number. Dr. Patricia Holloway, Artistic Director, City Philharmonic Orchestra. Thought this was crazy. This whole night was crazy. Just 12 hours ago, Maya had been a nobody. A hospital janitor who cleaned floors and emptied trash cans. A woman who lived alone with her cat and never talked about her past. A ghost who moved through the world without leaving any trace. And now she had a business card from one of the most important people in the classical music world. Now she had been offered a Steinway grand piano by her wealthy aunt. Now she had played Chopin's Balladno 1 in front of 100 people and made them cry. It did not feel real. It felt like something that happened to someone else. Some other Maya Chen in some other universe. Biscuit jumped onto the bed and curled up next to her. Maya stroked his soft fur and listened to him purr. At least the cat was real. At least some things had not changed. The sun came up. Maya watched the light creep across her ceiling. She had to go to work in 2 hours. She had the early shift today. She would mop the floors of the emergency room and wipe down the waiting room chairs and smile at the nurses who barely noticed her. Could she really go back to that life? After what had happened last night, after she had felt what it was like to play again, she got up and took a shower. She put on her uniform. She looked at herself in the mirror. Same face, same tired eyes. The same woman who had been invisible for 12 years, but something was different. She could see it. There was a light in her eyes that had not been there before. A spark, like a fire that had been almost dead but was now starting to burn again. She went to work. She pushed her mop through the hallways like she always did. She emptied trash cans and refilled soap dispensers. She said good morning to the nurses and doctors who passed by without really seeing her. But all day, her mind was somewhere else. It was at the piano. It was with Dr. Holloway. It was remembering the feeling of her fingers on the keys, the sound filling the room, the tears on people's faces. During her lunch break, she sat in the hospital cafeteria and took out the business card. She looked at it again. She thought about calling, but what would she say? What would she ask for? She was not ready. Not yet. A voice interrupted her thoughts. Is that seat taken? Maya looked up. An older woman was standing next to her table, holding a tray of food. She looked familiar, but Maya could not place her. No, please sit down, Maya said. The woman sat across from her. She had gray hair and kind eyes. She was wearing a hospital gown under a thin robe. A patient, Maya realized. She must be staying in the hospital for some kind of treatment. I know you, the woman said. You're the cleaning lady. I've seen you in the hallways. Maya nodded. Yes, I work here. You're always so gentle when you clean, the woman said. I've watched you through my door. You're quiet, careful, you treat everything with respect. Even the trash cans. She smiled. I like that about you. Maya did not know what to say. No one had ever commented on how she cleaned before. It was just a job, something she did to pay her bills. What's that? The woman asked, pointing at the business card in Maya's hand. Maya hesitated. Then she handed the card over. The woman looked at it, and her eyebrows went up. City Philharmonic Orchestra. She read, Are you a musician? It was such a simple question, but it hit Maya hard. Was she a musician? She had been once. A long time ago. But what was she now? I used to be, Maya said. I played piano. I was at Juilliard. The woman's eyes went wide. That's one of the best music schools in the world. What happened? Why did you leave? Maya told her the short version. Her mother's illness, leaving school, the years of not playing. The woman listened without interrupting. When Maya finished, the woman was quiet for a moment. And now, she asked, Are you going to call this number? Maya looked at the card. I don't know. Part of me wants to, but part of me is scared. Scared of what? Scared that I'm not good enough anymore. Scared that last night was a fluke. Scared that if I try to come back to music I'll fail. The woman nodded slowly. I understand that fear. I've felt it myself. I'm a writer. Or I was. I wrote 3 novels in my 20s. They did okay. Not bestsellers, but enough for me to keep writing. Then I got sick. Not cancer, but something else. Something that made it hard to concentrate. Hard to think. I stopped writing for 15 years. She leaned forward. Last year I started again. I was terrified. I thought I had lost my ability. I thought I would sit down at my computer and nothing would come out. But you know what? It was still there. All of it. The stories. The words. The voice. It had been waiting for me the whole time. Maya felt tears forming in her eyes again. She blinked them back. How did you find the courage to start again? She asked. The woman smiled. I realized that the fear would always be there. Fear doesn't go away just because you wait for it to go away. You have to do the thing you're afraid of while you're still afraid. That's the only way. She reached across the table and took Maya's hand. You played at Juilliard. You played last night and someone from the Philharmonic gave you their card. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens because you have something special, something that matters. She squeezed Maya's hand. Don't let fear steal another 12 years from you. Call the number. See what happens. The worst that can happen is they say no, but at least you'll know you tried. Maya looked at the woman, a stranger she had never met before, a patient in a hospital gown who had watched her mop floors. Thank you, Maya said. I don't even know your name. Eleanor, the woman said. Eleanor Price. And when you play at your first concert, I want tickets. Front row. Maya laughed. It felt strange to laugh. She had not laughed in a long time. I promise, she said. If that ever happens, you'll have front row seats. Eleanor stood up to leave. But before she went, she turned back. One more thing, she said. That thing you do when you clean. That gentleness. That respect. That's the same thing that makes you a good musician. You pay attention. Do you care about the details? You treat everything like it matters. She pointed at the business card in Maya's hand. Call the number. And don't forget what I said about the tickets. Then she walked away, her hospital gown swishing around her legs. Maya sat alone in the cafeteria, holding the business card. She looked at it for a long time. Then she pulled out her phone. Her hands were shaking as she dialed the number. It rang once, twice, 3 times. A voice answered. Dr. Holloway's office. How may I help you? Maya took a deep breath. My name is Maya Chen, she said. Dr. Holloway gave me her card last night. She told me to call when I was ready. She paused. Her heart was pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. I think I'm ready. The weeks after Maya's phone call were the busiest of her life. Dr. Holloway had been serious about wanting to help. She arranged for Maya to meet with coaches and voice teachers and even a therapist who specialized in performers. She set up practice rooms where Maya could play for hours without interruption. She introduced her to other musicians who had taken breaks from their careers and come back. Maya still worked at the hospital, but she reduced her hours. She needed the money, but she also needed time to practice. Every day, she woke up early and went to the practice room Dr. Holloway had arranged. She played scales and exercises to rebuild her technique. She worked through pieces she had learned at Juilliard. She started learning new ones too. It was hard, harder than she remembered. Her fingers were stiff from years of not playing. Her stamina was low. She could only practice for 2 or 3 hours before her hands started to ache. But every day it got a little easier. Every day she got a little stronger. Her Aunt Angela kept her promise about the piano. A moving company showed up at Maya's apartment one day with the Steinway. It barely fit. They had to take off the legs and turn it sideways to get it through the door. When they finally set it up, it took over half of Maya's living room. Biscuit looked at it suspiciously from the corner. I know it's big, Maya told the cat, but you'll get used to it. Biscuit did not look convinced. Maya started practicing at home too. She played in the mornings before work and in the evenings after work. She played on weekends until her neighbors knocked on the wall. She apologized and bought them earplugs and kept playing. The music came back slowly. At first it felt like trying to speak a language she had forgotten. The notes were there, but they did not flow easily. Her fingers stumbled over passages that used to be simple. Her memory had holes in it. She would be playing a piece and suddenly forget what came next. But she kept going. She kept pushing. And slowly, the music started to feel like hers again one evening. About 6 weeks after the party, Maya heard a knock on her door. She was in the middle of practicing and did not want to stop. But the knock came again, louder this time. She went to the door and opened it. Her Aunt Angela was standing in the hallway, holding a large shopping bag. Aunt Angela. Maya was surprised. Her aunt had never visited her apartment before. She probably did not even know where Maya lived until now. Can I come in? Her aunt asked. She looked nervous, uncertain, very different from the confident woman who had ruled over the engagement party. Of course, Maya stepped aside to let her in. Aunt walked into the apartment and looked around. Her eyes moved over the small kitchen, the old furniture, the cat sitting on the windowsill. Then she saw the piano, the beautiful Steinway that took up half the room. It looks different here, she said, smaller somehow, but also more alive. Maya did not know what to say. She was still confused about why her aunt was here. I brought you something. Her aunt held out the shopping bag. I found them in my attic. I was cleaning out some old boxes and I came across them. I thought you should have them. Maya took the bag and looked inside. Her heart stopped. Sheet music. Stacks and stacks of sheet music, yellow with age but still in good condition. And on top of the sheet music, a small photo album. These belong to your mother, her aunt said quietly. She left them at my house years ago, before she got sick. She was going to pick them up, but she never did. I forgot about them until last week. Maya pulled out the photo album with trembling hands. She opened it. The first page showed a young woman sitting at a piano. She was smiling at the camera, her fingers resting on the keys. Maya recognized the woman immediately, that it was her mother, young and beautiful and full of life. Before the cancer, before everything fell apart. I didn't know she played piano, her aunt said. She never told me, but looking at these pictures, she must have loved it. Maya turned the pages. More pictures of her mother at the piano, some alone, some with other people. In one photo, she was holding a trophy. In another, she was on a stage, taking a bow. She was a pianist too, Maya whispered. She never told me. She never said anything. Her aunt sat down on the small sofa. She looked tired, old, like the past few weeks had aged her. Maya, there's something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you a long time ago. Maya closed the photo album and looked at her aunt. Your mother and I didn't always get along, her aunt continued. When we were young, we were very competitive. She was talented, beautiful. Everyone loved her. I was jealous. I said things I shouldn't have said, mean things, hurtful things. She looked down at her hands. When she got sick, I wanted to reach out. I wanted to apologize, but I was too proud, too stubborn. I kept telling myself I would do it tomorrow, and then tomorrow became next week, and next week became next month. And then it was too late. She was gone. Tears were rolling down her aunt's face now. Maya had never seen her cry before, not like this, not with such raw emotion. After you played at the party, I couldn't stop thinking about it, about her, about all the time I wasted being angry and jealous. I went home and cried for hours. I cried for your mother, for our lost friendship, for all the years we could have had together. She looked up at Maya. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for how I treated you, for how I talked about you behind your back, for making you feel invisible. You're not invisible, Maya. You're extraordinary, just like your mother was. Maya sat down next to her aunt. She took her hand. It felt strange to touch her like this. They had never been close. They had never really talked. But now, in this small apartment with the big piano, something was changing between them. I forgive you, Maya said. And I think my mother would forgive you too. Her aunt squeezed her hand. Thank you. That means more than you know. They've sat together in silence for a while. Then Maya stood up and went to the piano. She opened the bench and took out the sheet music her aunt had brought. She looked through the stack until she found something. An old piece, worn and faded, Clair de Lune by Debussy. This was my mother's favorite, Maya said. She used to hum it while she cooked dinner. I learned it for her when I was 12. I didn't know it was because she played it herself. She sat down at the piano and placed the sheet music on the stand. She did not need it. She knew this piece by heart, but it felt right to have it there. Like her mother was sitting beside her again, that she started to play. Softly, gently, the notes floated through the small apartment like drops of light. Her aunt closed her eyes and listened. When Maya finished, she turned around. Her aunt was crying again, but this time, she was smiling too. That was beautiful, her aunt said. Your mother would be so proud. Maya felt something warm spread through her chest. Peace, forgiveness, understanding, all the things she had been missing for so long. Her aunt stood up to leave, but at the door she stopped and turned around. I almost forgot. There's one more thing in the bag. At the bottom, Maya reached into the shopping bag and felt around. Her fingers touched something small and metal. She pulled it out. It was a locket. Gold and old and slightly tarnished. Maya opened it. Inside was a tiny photograph of a young woman and a baby. The woman was her mother. The baby was Maya. On the other side of the locket, something was engraved. Maya held it up to the light and read the words. Play for yourself. Love, Mom. Maya's hand started shaking. The same words her mother had said before she died. The same promise Maya had finally kept. Her mother had known. All along she had known. She had believed in Maya. Even when Maya had stopped believing in herself. Maya pressed the locket to her heart and closed her eyes. She could feel her mother's presence in the room. Not as a ghost, but as a memory. A feeling. A love that would never die. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for everything. She did not know if she was talking to her aunt or her mother or both. It did not matter. The words needed to be said. And finally, after 12 years, Maya was ready to say them. 6 months had passed since the engagement party. 6 months of practicing. 6 months of rebuilding. 6 months of learning to believe in herself again. Maya stood backstage at the City Symphony Hall, wearing a long black gown that fit her perfectly. Not borrowed, not too big or too small. Hers. She had bought it with money she had saved from her hospital job, the job she still worked, 3 days a week, because she refused to abandon the patients and nurses who had become her second family. The dress felt strange on her body. She was not used to wearing something so elegant. For 12 years, she had worn uniforms and old jeans and borrowed clothes. But tonight was different. Tonight, she was not Maya the janitor. Tonight, she was Maya Chen, guest soloist with the City Philharmonic Orchestra. She could hear the audience through the heavy curtain. Hundreds of people settling into their seats, coughing and whispering and rustling their programs. In a few minutes, she would walk out onto that stage and face them all. The thought made her stomach twist with fear. Dr. Holloway appeared beside her. She was dressed in her conductor's outfit, a tailored black suit that made her look both elegant and powerful. How are you feeling? She asked. Terrified, Maya said honestly. Dr. Holloway smiled. Good, that means you care. The day you stop being terrified is the day you should worry. She put a hand on Maya's shoulder. I've heard you play 100 times in rehearsals. You're ready. More than ready. Tonight, you just need to do what you did at that party. Play for yourself. Play from your heart. Let everything else disappear. Maya nodded. She took a deep breath. She could do this. She had done it before. There's someone I want you to see, Dr. Holloway said. Come with me. She led Maya to a small window that looked out onto the audience. Maya peered through the glass. The hall was almost full. She scanned the crowd and saw faces she recognized. Her Aunt Angela was sitting in the third row, wearing a red dress and looking more nervous than Maya felt. Next to her was Linda, and next to Linda was their grandmother, a tiny woman with silver hair who had to be helped into her seat. Maya's heart swelled when she saw her grandmother. She had not seen her in years. The old woman was almost 90 now. She had flown in from Taiwan especially for this concert. In another section, Maya spotted Eleanor Price, the writer from the hospital. She was out of her hospital gown now, wearing a beautiful blue dress. She looked healthy, alive. She saw Maya looking through the window and waved. Maya waved back, smiling. There were other faces too. Her nephew Thomas, looking uncomfortable in a suit and tie. Her uncle David, clutching his program like it was a treasure. Mrs. Patterson, the neighbor who had lent Maya the dress for the party, now sitting proudly in a seat Maya had bought for her. And there, in the front row, was an empty seat. On it sat a single white rose. Maya's throat tightened. That seat was for her mother. Dr. Holloway had arranged it when Maya told her about her mother's death. A way to honor her, a way to include her in this moment. "It's time," Dr. Holloway said gently. Maya stepped away from the window. She took another deep breath. She touched the locket around her neck, the one with her mother's picture inside, the one that said, "Play for yourself." The stage manager gave her the signal. The lights in the hall dimmed. The audience fell silent. Maya walked out onto the stage. The applause started immediately. Polite, welcoming applause from an audience that did not know her yet. She walked to the center of the stage and stood next to the grand piano. It was a Steinway, just like the one in her apartment, just like the one at her aunt's party. But this one was on a stage, in front of hundreds of people, under bright lights that made everything feel like a dream. She bowed. The applause continued for a moment, then faded. Silence. Maya sat down at the piano. She adjusted the bench. She placed her fingers on the keys. She felt the cool ivory under her fingertips, smooth and familiar. She looked out at the audience. She could not see individual faces because of the lights, but she knew they were there. Her family, her friends, her mother's empty seat with the white rose. She was not playing for them. She was playing for herself. But she was also playing for her mother, for the woman who had believed in her when no one else did, for the woman who had told her to keep going even when everything seemed impossible. Maya closed her eyes. She took one last breath, and then she began to play. The opening notes of Chopin's Ballade No One floated through the concert hall, soft, gentle like a question, being asked in the darkness. But this time, it was different. This time, Maya was not playing in a corner at a party, trying to be background noise. This time, she was the center of attention, the reason everyone was here, the voice that would fill this hall with music. The piece began to build. Maya leaned into the piano, feeling it respond to her touch. Every note was clear. Every phrase was shaped with intention. She had practiced this piece for months. She knew every measure, every chord, every breath. But she was not thinking about the notes. She was thinking about her mother, about the woman in the photograph, young and beautiful, sitting at her own piano, about the locket around her neck, about the words engraved inside. "Play for yourself." She played the first theme. She played the second theme. She played the development section where the music grew dark and stormy, full of conflict and struggle. Her fingers flew across the keys, faster and faster, building toward the climax. Then the climax came. The music exploded. Sound poured out of the piano like water breaking through a dam. Maya played with her whole body, swaying with the rhythm, her arms rising and falling like waves. The hall was filled with sound, rich and powerful and alive. She thought about the past 12 years, the silence, the hiding, the pretending to be invisible. She thought about all the pain she had carried, all the grief she had buried, all the dreams she had abandoned, and she played it all away. Not forever. The pain would always be there. The grief would never completely disappear. But tonight, she was transforming it. She was turning it into something beautiful, something that could touch other people's hearts, something that would live on long after the music stopped. The piece moved toward its final section. The themes returned, softened, and transformed. Maya played them with tenderness, with love, with gratitude for everyone who had helped her get here. The last phrase approached. Maya slowed down, savoring every note. The final chord rang out through the hall, pure and perfect, hanging in the air like a prayer. Then silence. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The silence was so complete that Maya could hear her own heartbeat. Then the applause started. It was not polite applause this time. It was thunder. It was a roar. It was hundreds of people rising to their feet, clapping and shouting and crying. Standing ovation for her. For Maya Chen, the invisible woman who had finally let herself be seen. Maya stood up from the piano. Her legs were shaking. Her face was wet with tears. She looked out at the crowd and saw her Aunt Angela crying. She saw her grandmother pressing her hands together in joy. She saw Eleanor Price pumping her fist in the air like she was at a sports game, and she saw the empty seat in the front row, the white rose, her mother's place. Maya looked up toward the ceiling. She smiled. She whispered words that no one else could hear. "I did it, Mom. I finally did it." She bowed. The applause went on and on. She bowed again. Still, it continued. When she finally walked off the stage, Dr. Holloway was waiting for her. The older woman was crying too, something Maya had never seen before. "That was magnificent," Dr. Holloway said. "That was everything I knew you could be." Maya hugged her. "Thank you for believing in me, for giving me a second chance." "You gave yourself the second chance," Dr. Holloway said. "I just opened the door. You walked through it." Later that night, after the reception, after the congratulations, after the hugs and tears and promises to keep in touch, Maya went back to her small apartment. Biscuit was waiting for her at the door, meowing for his dinner. She fed the cat. She took off her beautiful dress and put on her old pajamas. She sat down at her piano, the Steinway that took up half her living room, and ran her fingers lightly over the keys. She did not play anything. She just sat there, feeling the weight of what had happened, the journey she had taken, the person she had become. She thought about tomorrow. She would go back to the hospital for a shift. She would mop floors and empty trash cans and smile at patients in the hallways. She would be Maya the janitor again, but she would also be Maya the pianist, Maya the performer, Maya the woman who had come back from the dead. She could be both. She finally understood that she did not have to choose. She could be invisible when she wanted to be, invisible when she needed to be. She could serve others and serve herself. She could clean floors and fill concert halls. She could be ordinary and extraordinary at the same time. She looked at the locket around her neck. She opened it and looked at her mother's face, young and beautiful and full of hope. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything, for giving me music, for teaching me to love, for waiting for me to be ready." She closed the locket and held it against her heart. Outside her window, the city was quiet. The night was dark. But inside Maya's apartment, there was light. There was music. There was a woman who had finally found her way home. And somewhere, in a place beyond this world, a mother was smiling.